Home Office visa processing system is broken and Africans are paying the price.
Recently, there have been a surge of African visas rejected by the UK Home Office, which has made many think that Africans are being discriminated against as compared to other continents applying for UK visas.
According to a new report, African visa applicants are more than twice as likely to be refused than people from other parts of the world. The authors blame a catalogue of careless, often offensive decisions that cost applicants sometimes hundreds of dollars per application.
Someone from Nigeria applied and got rejected 3 times for financial reasons, but said it was just an excuse because they had the funds to sponsor.
She's been denied a visa 3 times on financial grounds, despite showing evidence that her costs are being covered by her sister in London. Onolue says her family are victims of a prejudiced visa process.
You know, she's not paying anything, I'm the one paying it. And if there's anything that I've done, which is the reason why I want to know.
But looking at things in reality, are Africans applying for visas discriminated against as compared to people applying from other continents in the UK?
It's really difficult when we've applied to have people come over the process takes so long, it's so expensive. Sometimes they're having to go to neighbouring countries to get the visa, sitting around waiting for interviews in those countries, hotel bills, flights. I mean, it's really a big hurdle.
Before we uncover this, if you've not already, subscribe to our channel and ring the bell for upcoming updates. Recent data and analysis reveal concerning patterns that warrant careful examination of the UK's visa application process and its outcomes for different demographic groups. According to the UK Home Office statistics through 2024, there exists a notable disparity in visa approval rates between African applicants and those from other continents. The data shows that African nationals consistently face higher rejection rates, with some countries experiencing refusal rates between 40 to 50%, significantly higher than the global average of 15 to 20%. This stark contrast raises questions about the fairness and equity of the application process. Looking at specific numbers, countries like Nigeria and Ghana, despite their Commonwealth status and historical ties to the UK, face particularly challenging odds. Nigerian applicants, for instance, experience rejection rates approaching 45% for certain visa categories, while applicants from countries like Australia, Canada, or Japan typically see rejection rates below 10%. This disparity becomes even more pronounced when examining business and tourist visa applications. The employment statistics for African professionals seeking work visas present another layer of complexity. The data indicates that highly skilled African professionals face greater scrutiny and longer processing times compared to their counterparts from other regions. For example, the average processing time for work visas from African countries is approximately 15 to 20 working days longer than applications from North America or Europe. Additionally, African applicants are more frequently requested to provide supplementary documentation, leading to extended processing times and increased costs. Financial requirements pose another significant barrier. While the UK's visa system applies uniform financial thresholds, these requirements disproportionately affect African applicants due to currency exchange rates and relative income levels. For instance, the minimum salary requirement for skilled worker visas, when converted to local African currencies, often represents several years' worth of average salaries in many African nations, while amounting to a more reasonable proportion of annual income in developed economies. The student visa sector shows similar patterns. While the UK remains a popular destination for international students, African applicants face higher rejection rates compared to students from other regions. The latest statistics show that while Chinese and Indian students have approval rates of approximately 95% and 86% respectively, students from various African nations average around 70% approval rates, despite meeting the same academic and financial criteria. Critics argue that these disparities reflect systemic bias within the immigration system. Immigration lawyers and advocacy groups have documented numerous cases where seemingly qualified African applicants were rejected for reasons that appear less stringently applied to applicants from other regions. Common justifications for rejections include lack of sufficient proof of funds, or uncertainty about genuine intention to return, even when applicants provide substantial documentation. However, the UK Home Office maintains that decisions are based on objective criteria and risk assessment profiles rather than discrimination. They point to factors such as document verification challenges, varying economic conditions, and immigration compliance histories as legitimate considerations in their decision-making process. The government argues that higher scrutiny of certain applications is necessary to maintain immigration control and prevent visa overstays. The employment outcomes for successful African visa applicants in the UK also merit attention. Those who do secure visas often face additional challenges in the UK job market. Statistics show that African professionals in the UK are more likely to be employed below their qualification level compared to immigrants from other regions. This underemployment pattern suggests that barriers persist even after visa approval. Looking at specific sectors, healthcare provides an interesting case study. Despite the UK's significant healthcare worker shortage and active recruitment from overseas, African healthcare professionals face longer processing times and higher rejection rates compared to those from Philippines or India, even with similar qualifications and experience levels. The tourism and business sector shows particularly stark contrasts. Business visitors from African nations face rejection rates up to 3 times higher than those from developed economies, even when representing similar-sized companies or business interests. This disparity has led to calls for reform from various business associations and chambers of commerce. Recent legal challenges have brought some of these issues to the forefront. Several cases have successfully challenged visa rejections through appeals, highlighting inconsistencies in the application of visa criteria. These legal victories have prompted some procedural changes, but systemic challenges persist. The cost factor cannot be overlooked. Visa application fees, which are uniform regardless of the applicant's country of origin, represent a significantly higher proportion of average income for African applicants. When combined with additional requirements such as tuberculosis testing, required for certain African countries but not others, priority processing fees, and document translation costs, the financial burden becomes substantially higher for African applicants. In conclusion, while outright discrimination may be difficult to prove, the data strongly suggests that African applicants face disproportionate challenges in the UK visa application process compared to applicants from other continents. Addressing these disparities requires continued attention, reform, and commitment to creating a more equitable system that serves both the UK's immigration control needs and the principle of fair treatment for all applicants, regardless of their continent of origin.